Okay, so first thing you're going to do to replace the lower control arms, here's the old one here. This bushing is incorporated into it, and then on that side you're going to have to replace the bushing. We got new bolts, part number, those new lock nuts that go in. Here's the part number. The control arms themselves. Here's the part number. Lemforder brand. Here's your two bolts that hold your rear diff. Remove those. Here's the front diff bolt. Remove that. Here's your old rusty washers. Here's your old bushing. This thing was a pain in the ass to remove, but finally managed to get it out with an air hammer. It actually broke apart. It was so old. It broke apart from the ring itself. And then it broke into many pieces like that. There's your old eccentric washer. Here are some of the tools you're going to need. 18 millimeter, 21 millimeter, 10, 3/8, various extensions, a cut-off wheel because you're going to cut off that bolt. So this bolt right here was cut because it was seized inside the actual bushing itself. It was seized inside there, as you could see. So it had to be cut. So that was fun. Couple impacts, air hammer. And then what you're going to do is remove the two bolts from the rear diff and from right there, that main one. And then what that'll allow you to do is move the diff up and down like this. So you can move it enough up, and then you can use a pry bar to pry it out so that you have enough space to get that bolt out right here. Again, this is for the E46 M3s. Then you're going to want to clean out this inside, make it nice and clean. And maybe a day before, right now our new bushings are inside the freezer to shrink them a little bit. I'll show you in a second what kind of tool we're going to use to get that guy in. That's the other side that we're going to do next. You're going to want to lubricate everything maybe a couple hours before to make it easier for you to remove the bolts. But as you can see, that space right there, that's where you put the pry bar in to pry the diff back a little bit to get that bolt out right here. And yeah, it's supposed to be a very straightforward job, but on these older cars, it's not straightforward because everything is rusted to hell. So you have to like take your time and get kind of creative. So to get the new bushing in, what I use is, this is actually a kit for Mercedes-Benz ball joints, but it works surprisingly well for BMW ones as well. So they're nice because they have O-rings, so they lock into place. And this thing goes on just very carefully with a 24 millimeter turn it, and it goes in nice and easy. I use a little bit of silicone spray lubricant on the bushing itself to get it in, but it is possible. You don't have to remove the heat shield, it just fits over it. And now this one's nice and tight. The old one was moving around all over the place, so just be careful not to tear this rubber, and you should be pretty much good to go at this point. So now we can put our new control arm in. We'll tighten that up, and then we'll start the other side. So here's our new control arm. Now, very important, do you see how this side does not have that weld? And this side has that weld. So you have to make sure that this weld that one goes up, so it's gonna sit like that in there. So you got to make sure that this weld part is at the top, and that's per BMW instructions, because see how there's a slight bend? You want to have the bend be going like this. So the bushing ends up breaking apart because that bolt gets seized. So I end up cutting the bolt itself, taking off the arm, and then taking an air hammer and just air hammering right in there, and it should come out. There you go. There's the old one. See how the bolt gets stuck inside, and all it does is just spin and spin. You're not getting that off, so here's the old one. So you always push the bushing in through this side, and you push it out through this side as well. So you never go in through the other side. So I'll show you in a second here for you guys. Try to do this one-handed. Sorry, I don't know if you guys can see. And that's it. So here's the new bushing that is in. I do lubricate it a little bit with some silicone spray, but now we can install the lower control arm. So we have you never want to replace the lower control arm without doing this bushing at the same time, because the lower control arm doesn't have a bushing on this side incorporated. It's actually in the knuckle itself. So it's always wise to change these out when you're doing the lower arms. It's a little bit of a pain, but it's totally worth it to do. So what I do is use one jack to move that differential over as far as possible, and then use one to support the rotor at the hub. And what that'll do is give you enough clearance to have a space here so it's not hitting the shield, and then you can maneuver it to find, see how that hole lines up now? So what that'll allow me to do is easier access to get that bolt in. So you can use a ratcheting 18 millimeter, and you can see that one, it stays in place because it just hits the that lower side, and you don't have to hold it. But the new bolt is actually a little bit shorter, so it's easier to put the new bolt in. It's right there. So this is what we ended up with. Rear camber is adjusted to the maximum. We're very close, but I still don't understand why. I started with the rear toe and rear camber still at max, but we're still not in spec. Thrust angle is 0, which is right where I want it to be. The front end camber is good, toe is good, caster, there's no adjustment for it on this car. So if you go to illustrate adjustments, it says the manufacturer does not specify adjustment. So let me show you. This right here is the special tool. First of all, here's your tie rods, brand new, inners and outers with the boots. And then in the rear, that right there is going to be your camber. So this right here, special tool, fits over like that. I don't know if you can see, but it fits over that bolt like this. And then as you're turning this, and then that will move the toe in the rear. So on both sides, right there, it's an 18 millimeter. So as you turn that, it'll move, but here, as you can see, it's adjusted to maximum. And still, we're not in spec. Those are brand new, and that bushing is new. So the bushings is not the issue. So if anybody knows why I can't get the rear into spec, this one also, it's adjusted to the maximum, and still I cannot get it into spec. Brand new control arm, that bushing is new. This bushing is new also. So yeah, here's what we got. Let me show you where we were before. Take a picture. So, go to print. You'll see the before and after. Wheels are straight ahead, which I marked it beforehand. And you'll see here, we were way out in the rear. Total toe was out really bad. This side was, the passenger side was way out. When it's next like that, it means it's way out. Thrust angle was out. So now we're a lot better, but we're still in the rear camber, slightly out. So anyway, this is before. You see the rear. And then this is the current bar graphs. So we are a lot better in the front and in the rear. Thrust angle 0 is very important.